Hi guys, my name's Sam from Pioneer DJ, and today we're up in Manchester at Bot DJ, and we're going to be working on the DJS-1000, and I'm going to show you guys a little bit more about the live sampling feature. Okay guys, so first things first, let's have a look at my setup. So we've got the DJM-900 Nexus 2, CDJ-1000 Nexus 2, and the DJS-1000. Now for the live sampling to work, we have to set it up through send and return over here. And we also have to be Etherneted in from your CDJ to your DJS-1000. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take around 4 or 5, maybe 6 samples from a new EP that I found off Repeat After Me Records, and we're just going to make a track out of it basically. So I've got a kick running in the background. Now this is just to keep me in time. And over on the CDJ is where I'm going to start sampling from. So first things first, you click sampling here. Now what you need is a blank track. So these are 16 stereo tracks. You need a blank one. So I'm going to pick 13 for now. Now a little trick that I've found which really works well if you're going to add an effect to these samples is you turn your volume down here on your track. Now around 72 mark, that kind of works for me. Input level's turned up, and I usually have my send and return level up to around 1/4. I found that's pretty good for levels really, because like I said, if you're going to remix a sample, you tend to lose your gain, and you've obviously got a lot of headroom here you can put the gain back up on. So if we turn it up here, click sampling here. Now here we have record length, so I'm going to record 8 bars, but you can have up to half, 1 bar, 2, 4, all the way to 60, all the way to manual. So manual record 64 seconds. So I'm going to record 8 bars here. Loop after recording means it will play the sample as soon as I finish the recording. And input monitoring, if you turn this on, it means you're allowed to hear the sample over here on your headphones, which is obviously more of a live function. So I'm going to sample this here, and this is going to be the start of my sampling track. And there it is. A little bit quieter from the CDJ, that's obviously because my levels are a bit different, but I've just stopped my CDJ now, and now the sample is on the DJS-1000, and that's how easy it is to sample. So from here, I'm going to sample something different on the CDJ. So if we switch to my CDJ, and I've gone through record box, so I've got plenty of hotkeys to work from. I record that. So at the minute, I'm just going to mute my previous sample and keep the kick running. And this is going to be my next sample. So I go to the next track, 14, pull my volume down again, click sampling, and now it's going to be 2 bars, so I'm going to click 2 bars. And there it is again. So here's my sample here that I've just sampled in, and now I'm going to do another sample from the CDJ. So let's completely pull this out of the mix. Let's find a sample. Now I've gone through my hotkeys with record box here. Makes it a lot easier to find samples that you want to work from. I like this sample. At the minute I'm going to take my previous sample, I'm going to take out the mix completely and bring it back later on. I'm just going to use my kick to keep my timing in. So we go to track 14 here. This is going to be my next sample. Pull the volume down again, just so you got some headroom. Click sampling, and now we're going to sample 2 bars this time. So I've changed my record length to 2 bars. And there it is. So if I stop this DJS-1000, you have first sample, second sample. Now at the minute they are pretty quiet, so I'm going to turn this sample up. Now, these samples will not play in the mix unless you trigger it onto the 16-step sequencer. So at the minute, I have information from my kit down here, and that's all it's going to play. So if I go to my first sample, I have to trigger it for it to play. And there it is. Remembering this has all been taken from a track here. So, and this also works on beat. So if I was to trigger it on, let's say, the second step, it would be out. If I was to trigger it, and there it is. So our second sample here, I'm going to sample it here and here. I like the sound of that. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to add a little effect to here and change my envelope. Bit more jumpy. I'm also going to add a ducker on for my kick. So if I was to solo this, that's the effect that we're now getting because I've put a ducker on and I've changed the envelope. So here's a track. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to find another sample. Go to track 15. Pull the volume down, and I'm going to sample this here. Got in 4 bars this time, so I've changed my record length to 4 bars. And there it is. Again, remembering that this will not play live in the mix until you trigger it off by the step sequencer. So here's the sample that we've just used, and now it's in the DJS-1000. So if we open up the information here, it's very important to know that you're not always going to be on time. Even though we've got the sync mode on and it's quantized, you're not always going to trigger that on time. You can actually hear, if I mute the previous two, it's ever so slightly out. Now even though sync's on and we've quantized, etc., you can get to a point where you are tiny bit out. It's not a problem, because if you click sampling again, if you click your sample, you can now change the position of the sample. Sampling, and it's got a position here, so I can take it completely out or I can bring it completely in. So here's originally what it sounded like. A little bit out. Now it's perfect. So from here, I'm happy with these 3 samples. I'm now going to create kind of like a beat on the step sequencer, just on 1 bar, with the 3 samples, and I'm going to cut them up a little bit and, slice them, resample them, etc. So here's what they all sound like. So, first things first, I'm going to take this one out, because I'm going to trigger that. Like you're creating a build-up. So if I go into playback mode here, I can actually change the length of this sample. So now, that's what it sounds like. So just to go back, previously it was a full 8 bars. Now we're just using this here. So now I've got quite a little jump on me. I know it's quite cheesy, but it's quite a jumpy little house track. So let's have a look at the first sample we did. I'm quite happy with that to be the backbeat. Quite like the sound of that. So now I'm going to go into scale mode on this sample here. If I click the repeat, hold. And that's now what we have. So all I've done there is I've clicked the repeat, I've clicked on the strip fader here and held a parameter down. So when you now push one of the performance pads, you get this effect. So when I now press play, obviously you have to click record when you're recording. So now when I turn scale off, if I go into my envelope again, make the pulley tag in a bit. And if I have another ducker for my kick, now as you can see, I've lost quite a lot of volume on this sample here. This is one of the main reasons why when you sample in, you turn your volume down, because now I've got headroom. So with this effect, as you can hear, well, I hope you can hear, that we've lost some volume. So now I've got some headroom to work with. So there you have it, guys. There's some cool tricks and some things I've just shown you on the live sampling feature on the DJS-1000. The track I actually used was a guy called Rob Anderson. The track was called Apoloa. It's just come out on Repeat After Me Records. You can get that on Beatport now. And from using samples like this, we've now created the beginning of quite a cool track. So get yourselves down to Bot DJ Manchester and come have a go with the DJS-1000.